Warning, warning, Wii U. If you're a big fan of Ruby and don't want to listen to people being rude about the show, you probably won't enjoy this podcast. Please don't make yourself suffer. You've been warned.
Nels and Bitches Bandersnatch.
Hi, this is Marrow. Welcome to Anime Slushy. And have you ever considered that we're making children fight?
Marrow, it's our duty. Marrow, it's our duty. Marrow, duty, 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 duty. It's me, Cube, but also Winter, but really Cube.
And Phoenix. So this episode,
Dramatic zoom in. Everyone pew 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 pew.
we get a lot of vague battle scenes this episode. Of just
We have to hold the line, Phoenix. The line.
Okay, do you want
The line that we're holding.
Can we just talk about all the battle stuff that happens because it's not actually connected to the rest of the episode, really?
Yeah, sure.
So there's not like that much to it. It's just like occasionally we're back on the field and there's like Grimm running one way and humans running the other way, and you never actually see them fight.
When it goes through the dramatic sweeping shot is when you see that fan design that one, the sulfur fish. You see him skittering along, and we might see more of them later, but for now it's like, oh, hey, they did put it in. Okay.
Well done. We do get a moment when Winter is explaining to a bunch of troops that they need to hold a landing zone so they can drop the bomb off. Now, what I like is that we finally get a bit of defensive structure, which is that they're in a trench.
Yeah, where was that trench?
We didn't see the trench before. That's fine. The thing about trenches is that trenches are there to protect you from projectile weapons and artillery, which are not things that the Grimm have.
I didn't even think about that. Look, trenches are just where you go to have speeches before charging, okay? You have to do it in a hole.
Yeah. You wouldn't build a trench to protect yourself against Grimm. It's like going in the crater. You're just putting yourself in a hole.
And it really just stress how stupid this whole, like, specific land war on this floating island is. Especially because, of that scene we saw with May, where the Grimm are just flying all over the sky, taking down ships and stuff.
Yeah.
And now they're like, oh, we have to hold the line. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I forgot to mention that about, like, in that episode, is that we see some big Grimm, like, taking apart one of the battleships, and it's just like, God, those things are fucking useless.
They're only shown when they need to fail to do something.
They're very like the Aesops in that way. Anyway, Funky's here. Funky's part of the line. We get a brief bit of Funky.
Yeah, they're in the military uniforms. It's like, aw, but they went through all that trouble in modeling their new outfits.
There's something so dumb about seeing Flint use his stupid trumpet in the middle of what's supposed to be a very serious battle.
I mean, like, they should have leaned into that, like, of them not fitting in, but having them be in the armor, and then it's like, we have no idea how many of the other random people shooting guns and getting bowled over, are those also hunter kids? Are they hunters at all? Are they anything? And also, so Funky, it's like, oh, they're gonna fight, that's horrible, and Marrow is like, but they're just kids.
Yeah.
And it's like, one, you just sent Jury into the whale. They're the exact same age. Two, which means that they're like 19 at least. So, like, what the fuck even? They're not even that young. They're veterans of another attack by Salem's forces. Like, it's just such a stupid context to be like, but the children.
This is the same as the stuff with, like, repeating Emerald's bits over and over again. It's like, we have seen this beat. Why are you still hammering this point? We get it. He's conflicted. God, just...
But Ozpin uses children to fight Grimm. And now we're using children to fight Grimm.
Yeah, it's like, it sounds cool, but there's no real thought put into it at all.
Yeah, for once I get to agree with Elm, because she's like, you can hash out your issues later. Right now, just kill Grimm. And I'm like, yeah, just kill some fucking Grimm. And we get to see them kill one Grimm each.
What's funny is that, like, you see two of those big elephants, which you may remember from season 7. There's a bit where you see a bunch of them running towards the city, and, like, those huge gunships with massive missiles don't take out a single one. In this battle, Elm's rockets take out 2 of them at a time. So
just give everyone those fucking rockets.
Then the bomb arrives, to big fanfare. Winter gives more orders, everyone runs off, and Marrow's just still there going, How can you kill main characters? They could still be in there, and they're the main characters! You can't kill them!
In the initial panning shot of the show, you see like a giant line of dead soldiers.
Yeah.
And I keep thinking about that when they're like, but 3 people might die if we do this.
Yeah. And the worst thing is, like, Winter responds by saying, you're wrong, but she says you're wrong because it's our duty. We've been given orders to do this. Not those 3 people aren't more important than everyone else that's already dead.
Well, of course they are, though. We all know it.
They're always right for the wrong reason.
There's so much that I'm still thinking about from last episode.
Same.
But the way that Ruby is like, how do we fix it when it's like a war? And just like the idea of like, she's just this kid who like barely has any reason to be involved in any of these events. And she's just like, oh, this war. How do I fix all this shit? And it's like, why?
It's not up
she
to you.
only knows that it's her job because she's the main fucking character.
Yeah. So that's all we get at the battle. So like it really is just like threading for next step, I guess, because it has nothing to do with what the main part of this episode is, which is all taking place in the Whale and following Team Jury.
But how else would you know that Marrow's conflicted if we didn't show that?
Okay.
Anyways, they have to clear a line to the Whale because it's probably really hard to get into the Whale to get there, you know? That's why they have to clear a line so that they can get to the Whale. Anyways, cut to Jury running into the Whale and you know, whew, that was harrowing. So there you go.
It's kind of great because you see like
There
the shot before this is that big sweeping shot where we go past all the dead soldiers and like hundreds of thousands of Grim and then just cut to Jury in there. How they get in there, who cares?
Wow. I'm amazed we made it in here. I wonder how that happens. Don't worry about it.
So it is now canonized that Ren can sense emotions even at a distance, so he can sort of tell where people are.
That doesn't mesh with what we saw on the ship. You know, they want us to be like, oh, we already know that he had this power up because of what we saw on the ship, but we saw him like seeing people surrounded. Like is in his Reno vision now, is he just seeing single little faraway petals in the distance?
I think that's the idea, yeah. Because he can detect emotions, he sort of explains it as being I can kind of detect them at a distance. I don't know who I'm looking at, but I can detect there are people having emotions in this general direction.
I just want to see how that generally works. I want to see that like really far away no clip petals.
It's sort of like I think this was like for once this power was reasonably well explained. Even if like him suddenly getting this now, I don't think has been particularly well justified. As an extension of his general powers, I don't know.
To me, it's just that this feels different than him looking at people and being able to see their inner world.
Oh, sure.
But they treat it like, well, I have all kinds of emotional, psychic, possible powers now, whichever ones we feel like doing. So let's do this.
Also, as you and I and Core predicted in the episode 7 thing, he's become everyone's therapist because he's got this power now. He just has insight. He rolled critical insight.
It's so funny because like now he's forgiven John. Like John offers to help boost his aura and he takes it because he's had his character arc. And it just really stresses how this has nothing to do with why he was angry earlier. And there's no reason that they made up now that he's just like, well, I'm over it because I'm psychic now.
All right, so we just see them get in and Ren explain that he has a vague idea of where everyone is. Cut to Oscar for some Oscar Ozma time.
She brushed off her bumps and bruises, for nothing hurt worse than the loneliness in her chest.
So they're talking about a fairy tale, which I assume is a fairy tale that's in that stupid book of fairy tales they put out. So technically, this is a cross promotion.
Who knows?
But like they're just talking about the book, and you know, Ozma's like, oh, you know, I've lived through my fair share of fairy tales. Shut up. Oscar explains how this fairy tale is about this girl who fell through Remnant and into a new world, and how he always thought that was exciting. So Oscar wants to be in an isekai, and like I think that's fair. At this point.
He's learning the perils of isekai. Because when the girl came back, you know what the big problem was? That she wasn't who she was when she left. Just like an Oscar.
She changed. It's terrible. This scene also has the fantastic image of Oscar sitting there, burnt, bruised, covered in wounds, and Ozma saying, "How you holding up?"
That's right. That's us.
How you doing, buddy? Hey, how you going?
And then Oscar's just like, I'm hurt emotionally more than physically. And then Oscar says this horse shit, which is, every time we use magic, I can feel us merging faster. I'm not ready for that, because Ozfin suggests using magic to get out. And we've seen them use magic once. So the fact that he's like, oh, every time I feel it, it's like, when?
Because they're saying that maybe like, you know, the whole divide and conquer thing isn't working.
Oh yeah, that's right. I love that. I think this plan to divide may have run its course.
Yeah. So it's like, well, maybe it's time to, you know, use magic to get out of here. And Oscar's like, nah, because I don't want to just like disappear and become you, which is fair.
Well, too bad.
So once again, V6E3 is wrong in that they don't just live together in harmony. And once again, more evidence that the fucking light bro is such a goddamn dick.
I guess it's also maybe the idea now is that the people that he lived alongside, they just never had to use magic. And in that way, they never ended up merging with him. And you might say Mary, but there's other times when Oscar has continued to pick up Ozpin's memories even when he didn't use any magic. And I would say that's so last season. Fucking get over it. That's last season canon.
Yeah, I don't know.
What's important is that Hazel comes in and Oscar, after he's already walking towards him, rolls over and tries to play dead like that. And it's like, what the fuck is stupid? And Hazel just grabs him. It's like, it's dumb.
It's kind of funny. Hazel has come to get him because he wants to test out the lamp.
Hazel's very smart now. He's a very smart boy.
Yeah, so Hazel says, well, you know, if you're lying to me and I go to Salem and tell her what you told me, I'll probably get punished. And if I just try to use it, like this lamp might be rigged to explode if I say the wrong thing. So you're going to summon Jean. Before he does that, Emerald just turns up. Emerald's like, hi, I'm here.
Yeah. I want to be here for the scene. Hello.
Yeah, hi. And then, yeah, Oscar just summons Jean. What I did like is that, you know, Jean sucks. Bad design, all that stuff. But I do like when she says, like, oh, hello, old man. Oscar just waves. Like, he's, oh, hey.
Oh, yeah. He's like, hello, big titty lady. Also, it's funny to me that Hazel's excuse for bringing Oscar into this scene is like, I have no idea what will happen when I summon the Relic of Knowledge. It might blow up and kill me, I guess, so you better do it. And then what if Oscar was just like, Jen, how old am I? Or, you know, like some like stupid question wastes a question, and then eggs on your face, motherfucker.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, and also to try, I didn't understand what the purpose of this shot was at first, but now I realize it's to show time stopping. It's supposed to be bubbling ooze in the pit, but like the bubbling is like some really weird default CG kind of bubbling. And I assumed at first that it was supposed to be like, oh, the Salem is going to be able to tell what they're doing in here because she should be able to. She's super powerful, but she can't because she sucks. So they're just having a little private meeting with the titty lady.
Now, what's funny is that, so she pops out. So now Hazel is convinced. Oh, okay, so you were telling the truth.
Yep, character arc 0 to 60. Here we go.
Oscar's gamble here was that Hazel wasn't believing what Ozma was telling him about Salem's true plan. That is, to destroy the world instead of creating a new world order where no one has to fight Grimm. But part of that gamble was that Hazel would use the question to confirm that.
Look, if he's telling the truth about one thing, he's probably telling the truth about everything.
Yeah, that's kind of the idea. So like when Jean pops out and says, does anyone have a question for me? And he says, well, my question's been answered.
Yeah, it's like you already knew you knew this was the Relic of Knowledge. So the fact that he just didn't lie to you about the password, okay, very interesting now.
Yeah. Now, the other thing is that before we get into the rest of this, I just want to quickly point out, they get to the end of this scene and no one asks Jean a question. Now, you might remember, Ruby almost got into trouble for that at the end of season 6 when she just called Jin out just so she had some time to focus, and then Jin said, normally I wouldn't let people get away with that. But obviously you're clever. What a clever idea, writers. So this time no one does, and Jin's just like, yeah, cool. She froze time for them and everything, and she doesn't seem to give like the single slightest shit that she's been called out for nothing.
Look, everybody gets one. And she's probably getting bored by now. So Oscar's like, what are you going to do? And Hazel's like, what Gretchen would have done. And that starts with getting you away from here. Both of you.
Turn. He's done it. He's done. He's decided to turn.
This episode started with him like roughly dragging Oscar at his poor little boy body that he's beaten to shit. What a good noble man.
I don't want to get fully into Hazel's whole deal until the end of the episode.
Okay, yeah.
There's a lot of other Hazel to happen in between here and now.
Yeah. So the last thing that happens this scene is he's like, okay, I'm going to get you out of here and I'm going to leave the lamp here and that's fine. And he's like, what? And he's like, as soon as we move that thing, this place goes on high alert, which is not the case. And it turns out. And he said, so he just says he'll come back for it. And he says, it's not like she knows the password anyway. And it's like, they aren't even worried that she might possibly spy on them, which I guess is apparently true, but it shouldn't be.
I feel like this bit maybe makes some sense because if Hazel, for whatever reason, if he's like motivation right now, chief motivation is just to get Oscar out. Stealing the lamp is gonna like alert everyone to the fact that something's going on. Whereas, like as it turns out, he can apparently just walk Oscar out the front door if he as long as he doesn't like raise an alarm. He does make some comment about, oh, I'll come back for the lamp. It's fine.
Well, we'll get to why that doesn't make any sense. Anyways, it turns out the one winner this episode is time for a motherfucking Neo because they leave the room and she's become the naked default villain from Detective Conan with a sexy butt in order to hide on the wall. And it's like, okay, I don't like that, but she's gonna get that lampy.
So she was hiding in shadows, and we only realize that she's there when we see her eyes open up.
I think she's supposed to be the exact color of the wall or whatever.
Yeah. And as we watch her walk, she transforms back into her normal outfit. But yeah, for the moment we see her before that, she is just a bald, featureless, naked person.
Yeah, and so the Discords were pointing out they're probably thinking about shots of Mystique, because they're probably like, oh, cool, sexy Neo, she's all naked and stuff, because that makes her way cooler. But the implication feels like that's how she actually looks, because why would you make yourself more naked for the sake of looking like a wall? It's very strange.
She can more easily do colors in her default form, I guess.
No, I don't want to think that Neo's just this like bald, featureless person.
I think she might be. I think that's the way they think of her.
No. Anyway, she's gonna get that lamp. She wins again. Motherfucker, is Neo out.
It is funny to me, the idea that... So she gave the lamp to Cinder. Everything's been shit ever since. So she's kind of like, fuck this. Just go and get the lamp back and leave.
Taking her lamp and going home.
Yeah. Good for you. Good for you, Neo.
Yeah. You know what? She had a season, try hanging out with the bad guys. She's like, you know what? Kind of sucks here. All right, see ya.
I'm taking my stuff.
So anyway, John is boosting Ren's aura as Ren tries to, he's scouting, but he's also hiding them. And then, but he's aura low. So John is like, hey, I'll scout ahead and you tell me where to go and I'll scout ahead for us. But what's the fucking point of that?
I think the idea was it was to give Ren a little break. Because he was like running two powers at once, kind of, even with John's help.
I know, but if they're just gonna, that means that John's just gonna continue to move forward without any stealth or anything, well then let's just all continue to walk forward all together then. But, like the only reason this happens is so Yang and Ren can then talk alone.
Yeah. I mean that's what we wanted. That's what to get this awesome scene we're about to have. But it's I don't know.
Yeah, it's just silly that like so John does run forward and then he runs back because he saw Grimm, and it's just silly.
In this discussion, though, like we said before, Ren is everyone's therapist now. Yang has a sassy line about... Yang said a bunch of sassy lines this episode.
Yeah.
And now she has a sassy line about, well, you two being friends again takes the edge off the apocalypse. And Ren turns to her and says, you don't have to be scared. You don't need to hide everything behind a joke. And she's like, oh.
It's okay to be afraid, you know. And it's also like, jokes are a common coping mechanism in times of stress, and that doesn't mean that you're hiding it. It just means you're coping with a difficult situation, Ren.
I just like the idea that, no, Ren is like the world's worst writer. She's like, everyone should express their emotions that they're feeling all the time. I do not want subtext.
I noticed that none of you are doing that correctly, so I'm going to do it for you. Yang, hello, it's me, Yang. I'm very scared. And it turns out that what John should be saying is, I'm the perfect boy, and I'm not scared at all because I believe in us all the time, and I'm the best one.
So, yeah.
What Ren says.
The discussion they have is that, like, Ren's scared, Yang's scared, but Jorn's not scared. Now, Jorn is not scared because, for one of two reasons. A, he's a very special boy. The most special boy, one might say. Perhaps he's the most special boy.
Wait, he believes in us. That's what he said.
Or he has faith that we are definitely going to accomplish our mission no matter what. In which case, he is a raging dumbass. So, yeah.
Well, that's canon. So.
Aw. No, he's been so smart lately.
No, because he keep being like, whoop, he fall down. Still.
A little bit.
He's just a pure boy. He's just so fucking pure.
There was a nice little bit of animation in this episode I liked where when he was a bit tired, he tried to lean on the wall of the whale.
Oh, yeah.
And then he just pulled his hand back and there was just like goop all over his hand. It's like, ugh. That was cute.
That was cute. But man, I'm so glad that this show finally has like a main character who's all about purity and always being optimistic and you know, I'm glad we finally have a main character for this show who has this character.
Yeah, we need one of those because we don't have one right now. I mean, to be fair, we really don't have one.
Yeah, and to be fair, John was always the main character before, so
Yeah.
But oh, he saw an Orby boy. Here he comes running back.
Yeah, there's a seer. Seer is here, but Ren's all tired out. He can't mask them. Seer sees them. Alarm
Yeah,
goes off.
the Seers fucking suck as scouts. Because John runs back and he's like, mask us. And so the Seer comes clicking by them. And then Ren's aura breaks, and then it's like, huh? It's a little reaction shot of an orb.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, why do you use these guys? You know, like Emerald was able to hide within a few feet of it, and these guys, they're really bad at this job.
Yeah.
This is why you should have used the Gorilla Monkeys after all.
I guess if Grimm can only really see via emotions, my crack theory, if the show is getting better, was that it turns out Ren actually is part Grimm.
Just make everyone part Grim.
Yeah, why not?
Let's just do it. Let's just go for it.
Now, anyway,
Anyways, this scene.
we cut to Hazel and Emerald wandering alone, right? And Hazel's acting a little weird. Like he's sort of stuttering and saying, do you talking to Emerald, saying, do you think he's going to be okay in his own? Like, because Oscar's not here.
Yeah.
And Emerald's like, I don't know. Like, Emerald's being weirdly sort of brusque with Hazel. And then they run into Salem.
Mm-hmm.
And Salem's saying, oh, Hazel, have you got what I wanted yet? And Hazel's like,
And she's like, that's not suspicious at all. Oh, good, I am distraction.
Yes, so this is weirdly staged, and only like 12 minutes ago did I figure out what was actually happening here. So you hear the seer scream, basically. And Salem goes, oh, we have intruders. And she's pretty calm. But then there's a pause, and she suddenly goes, the lamp! Stop them! And like zooms off.
I thought she just suddenly remembered the lamp.
But so this is the thing. I think what happened was that the seer alerts her to the fact that Jury's here. Not a huge deal. And this is the moment when Neo took the lamp.
They can't have happened simultaneously.
Why not?
Because Phoenix, Neo, we see her, unless she stood in front of the lamp for several minutes, like thinking about it.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Why wouldn't she have tried to figure out a way to, like, you know, break the security or whatever? I just feel like that's all this moment can be. Because, like, otherwise it's her going, oh, yeah, fuck, I have a lamp. Shit. This is how she gets her alerts, like, psychically. That has to be what it was.
I don't buy that those two things happen simultaneously.
No, it's totally stupid. But, like, why wouldn't that be a thing this show would do?
Because I think it's even funnier and stupider if she's just like, oh, we have intruders. Oh, wait, I have a super magical lamp someone might steal.
Yeah, no. See, that's what I thought at first, but I think that's when Neo nicked the lamp. Because she had to do it, like, soonish. She wasn't going to fuck around.
Well, yeah, that's why I thought that, like, this has been too long since she would have just gone and grabbed the lamp. Because, you know, she's walking up to it, and I don't, like, the image of her, like, what she's, like, doing that, like, cartoon thing of, like, ooh, I got the sandbag.
Yeah. That's what she's doing. Like, because they couldn't have her just take it immediately, because then the alarm would have gone off too early.
There's no, we don't know that any alarm went off. We don't know that any alarm goes off when you take the lamp.
No, hang on. Hazel said it would. Hazel said that. Like, he says that. The place goes on high alert if I move the lamp. I feel like we can believe Hazel.
I think he was just assuming.
Oh, come on.
She has no surveillance on that room. We also know that.
Well, she doesn't have anyone listening to what's happening, but it's presumably like, you know, if you take the lamp off the thing, it's like, oh. Well,
are you telling me she has no seers, nothing keeping track of anything that's happening in that room, but she fucking set up a pressure plate for the goddamn lamp?
That's what Hazel said. I have to assume they wouldn't have put that line in unless they meant that.
I thought he was just assuming that she would notice somehow.
Why would he just assume that? Like, he's like...
Are you really asking me this question about Ruby, Phoenix?
I am, but
Are you asking me this question right now about Ruby?
I'm just saying, this makes sense to me. This makes sense that the lamp got taken at the same time, and that's why Salem reacted that way. Because otherwise it's all just fucking nonsense.
I can kill you. It's fucking nonsense either way.
No, it's the timing is nonsense, but everything else makes sense. It's ridiculous that she only happened to take it when the other alarm went off. But otherwise, Hazel just made a weird assumption about, like, the thing being alarmed.
Yes.
and they put that line in there for no reason, because, like, what's the point of putting that line in the show otherwise?
I don't buy any way that this works out. You'll have to choose for yourself, viewers. Anyways, what's really important is that she makes a funny pose when she says, the lamp, find them! And then she nooms off, because it turns out that for some reason they've decided that Salem doesn't have legs. functionally, and it's just like a silly cartoon goopy witch lady going into the ground. And so she just kind of scoot real fast off to either check on the lamp or whatever. You make up your own mind. We report, you decide. And there she go.
We quickly cut back to Jury, who fought off a couple of Grim. Cube, you can talk about this scene.
So the alert has been raised, and they're like, "What do we do now?" And Yang says, "Charge blindly into danger." And John's like, "No, Yang, you dumb bitch. We have to make the reference. It's the perfect time." I would have gone with keep moving forward. And then I get out my ceremonial katana and I commit seppuku. You know what's not moving forward? Continuing to use the same single reference to remind everyone about the dead creator of the show that they miss. To just keep referencing the same exact line over and over and over in every piece of media forever.
Yeah.
It's so annoying.
I think the way you put it when we were watching it was that like you keep using the dead person's line to get everyone hype about the show.
Yes.
And there is just something really bordering on distasteful at this point about that.
Yeah, because either someone doesn't know the reference, or every time you say that line, they're like, "Oh yeah, Monty, I love Monty. It's too bad he's dead, but I'm glad that they're continuing his legacy by continuing to make the show without him," which is definitely, this is all good. They kept moving forward. They just got to keep moving forward, and Ren says, "Forward, no matter what." And it's like, Neith, what's your life like?
Jury catch up with Emerald and Hazel, and they're like, "You," and Hazel's going, no, don't shoot. And he goes, and it's actually Oscar.
So here's the thing. It turns out that now Emerald's semblance works exactly like Neo's semblance, and I scream.
This is the thing, right? Because at first I was like, I actually didn't pick up what they were putting down here. That's good. They got me.
Yeah. I was like, oh, he was Oscar. That's cute. But wait, that's not how her fucking semblance is supposed to work.
Now, was the idea initially that she can only project illusions into one person at a time?
In volume 3, she says like when it's two people, she has to really focus, and she'll be like staring at the person that she's projecting the illusion to, and she's mind controlling them. She's not creating a physical illusion. We know that because that's the entire point of Yang seeing something that everyone else in the crowd doesn't see.
Yeah.
So she has to choose a person and show them a mental illusion of what's happening. And then you might say, Mary, what about volume 5 when she completely broke that rule?
Yes.
But that was clearly supposed to be some dumbass emotional shit. And I just assumed that she was projecting that image into everyone in the room's minds at once. But it turns out that now her semblance works completely differently, and it happens to work exactly like how Neo's semblance works. I hate this show.
Because that's the thing. Like they're surprised to see Jury. So it's sort of odd, the idea that they were seeing Hazel before she even knew they were there.
Mm-hmm.
Unless she's just like, she's got an AoE mind projecty thing. Like she could just project her minds in a bubble around her before, so that like they'll see this before they even get here.
For other people, she can just show them fucking anything. But with this way, it requires Oscar to act along and stuff. So it's just like how Neo made the one ship look like the other ship, except they decided that instead of two characters having different powers, they should really have two characters who have the same power.
Yeah, Emerald does sort of take.
I hate the show.
Emerald does take the opportunity to dunk on Jury.
Oh yeah.
He's just like, I knew I sensed some weak minds nearby, which
Wait, so she did know. So she sensed them ahead of time, right? But they still run into each other like, whoa, surprise.
That's true.
And then she's like, I sensed you guys all along, wink.
Yeah.
And it also means that now that part of her power overlaps with Ren's, so they can just go on and have a field day with that shit.
That's true. Yang takes this moment to demand a full explanation from Emerald.
I like the way she walks up to her. She like pulls up to her all like sauntering, like, I'll beat you up, bitch.
Is this the time and place? Like to figure out, like, why should we trust you? And like, well, first of all, probably because she seems to be helping Oscar right now. Like that seems like notable.
Yeah.
But then Ren, it's time for some more empathy. He says, well, she's scared. She's scared, just like us.
fuck that shit, because it's like, why do you think that she was doing what Salem wanted for the last few seasons? I mean, I guess because she likes Cinder, but also, you know how she kind of seemed when she was around Salem, fucking scared of her.
Yeah.
Sometimes you work for people because you're scared of them, especially when they're an evil, super powerful, immortal witch.
Yeah. Emerald also correctly points out, I also know how to leave, so maybe just, you want to come along, you dead shits, and they do.
So fine.
And so they're almost out. They get to like a ramp that just takes them outdoors. Whoops. Salami's here. Big salami mummy.
Yeah, whale creaking sounds. Here come the mummy. And she stretchy arm grabs Emerald. It's terrifying.
Now, this fight, there's some half decent stuff in this fight, and then there's some other stupid shit as well. I did enjoy the moment where Yang ran up and stuck bombs down Salem's cleavage.
Yeah, like it's a legit cool move. Like, you know, like she does her thing where she just like rapid puts a bunch of bombs in her and explodes them.
Yeah.
And then Salem immediately comes back to life. But it like if you actually think about where the bombs went, they went like right in her titty, and it's pretty funny.
And then she explodes her titty. The titty go everywhere. Oscar does a little bit of magic when some of the other guys are threatened, so, you know, he's willing to do that.
Little of magic as a treat.
Little magic.
And then Salem's like, fuck all you kids. Yeah, Grim Arms, everybody. All right.
Yeah. Now, she's asking where the lamp is, because the lamp is missing.
Mm-hmm.
She's asking Emerald at first, and Emerald's quite truthfully saying, I haven't touched the lamp, I don't know where it is. Salem's walking up to Oscar and talking some shit on Ozma. Oh, you've let yourself be diminished, blah, blah. And then she's like grabbing his head and going, why do you keep coming back? And it's like, you know that, Salem.
No one knows. No one remembers the reason that this curse has been put upon him. It doesn't matter. And also, you brought him here, so maybe don't fucking put this on him.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned the word cursed, Cube.
I wrote down her line if you want me to read it.
Yeah, I've got it too.
All right, you do your best, Yang.
Yang is continuing her run so far this season of being the fucking worst. So when Salem says, why do you keep coming back to Oscar? Yang says, why do you? All this endless death because something bad happened to you once upon a time. Nobody gets a fairy tale ending.
You told her, oh, Yang, you got her, Yang, you really told that bitch.
It's worth remembering that Yang is one of the people who was present for V6E3, like, so she's seen the whole story.
One bad thing ever happened to Salem. One bad thing.
It's slightly complicated by the fact that Salem is a villain and she's killing lots of people. That's all true.
She's bad now.
The puritanical attitude towards her and the things that were done to her is so fucking weird. It is one of the weirdest things about Ruby, IMO.
Mm-hmm.
Let's assume from this that the something bad that happened to her was Ozma's death, his original death.
Mm-hmm. That's my assumption.
Yeah. So everything else that's happened since, which includes the gods fucking with her, making her immortal, killing everyone else on Earth, all that shit is her fault.
Yeah.
That's the takeaway.
That's the show's idea. That's what they think.
Yeah.
That's what everyone in the show thinks. She deserved everything that she got because she asked two different people for something.
This is all justified punishment for the things that she did after Ozma died. That's the way they think of what has happened to Salem.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way that something bad happened to you once upon a time makes sense, because it's not taking into account the fact that her life is now endless suffering. Like, she just has to live forever and never gets to die.
No, yeah, she earned that.
Yeah, she earned that. That's what they think. They think that was deserved.
Did you see how uppity she was? She was uppity as fuck.
To me, I feel like at this point this is indisputable, because we've had this concept of Salem being a selfish manipulator who is in the wrong from Yang and Oscar at this point.
Yeah, nobody disagrees.
Yeah, this is the way our main characters think of. Even Oscar, who was like, or Ozma, sorry. Ozma, who was like, you would think it would be the one character who might even be vaguely sympathetic or towards her, thinks that even he is willing to say, like, in terms of when he was explaining to Hazel that everything Hazel was doing wrong, well, that's because he got manipulated by that bitch.
And don't forget, Jin even said, you know, like, she killed all the previous humans, basically.
Yeah.
She blamed the gods. She was full of shit.
Yeah.
She did that. So, yeah, the fact that she's like, why do you keep coming back? And when Yang was like, why do you? I was like, oh, God, Yang is about to bring up the fact that the god of light did this to all of them. She's going to bring up the fact that he's the common denominator here. No, it's because you're such a dumb bitch.
Yeah. It's because it's Salem's fault. It's all Salem's fault. I
hate it.
It's like, it's clear to me this is the way the writers think about her.
Yeah.
That she is the villain who is in the wrong because she's done all of the wrong things. And it's just, step away for a moment and examine this attitude. Because this is a
Oh, just wait till the way this episode ends.
Yeah.
It's amazing imagery.
because this is a fucked up attitude. Anyway,
Also, I like that I realize it's very possible that Salem has no idea who the fuck any of these people are. Because, like, she knows who Ruby is because she's that Silver Eye girl, you know, who fought Cinder and she kind of wanted her. And so she was able to recognize her in that room. But, like, when she's like, who have I taken away from you, girl? Yang's like, Summer Rose, my mom. And Salem's like, oh, her again. And then she's like, what? She had another kid? Okay. and of course, because she didn't technically, you know, Summer's just her better mom. That's her adoptive mom, kind of. But this is funny. She probably has no idea who these fucking kids are.
no, why would she? They're not famous.
These weird kids keep showing up in her house.
Now, everyone's held down. It's looking pretty bad. But don't worry, Hazel's here. And he's just sort of being very straightforward, plain. Now, we get a moment where Salem explains how she's going to torture Emerald, and Emerald's like crying as Salem strokes her face. That moment was a bit much.
That one is too fucking much, yeah. It's like she goes from being like spooky, like silly, stretchy arm lady, and then there's like this weird, really uncomfortable, like Emerald crying victim tears as she's like stroking her cheek, and it's like, that went to a very different direction very suddenly.
Yeah.
I also like that she has no question about Hazel or his loyalties. You know, she's just like, hey, Oscar got out of his room somehow. Go put him back. This is fine.
So Hazel goes to do that. He picks Oscar up, and then he whispers into his ear, "No more Gretchens, boy."
Oh, also, he gave him his cane back real quick. Just that's important.
Oh, yeah,
he was going and getting his cane, and he gave him his cane back.
Yeah. Anyway, Hazel turns around and does a big triumphant punch to a woman in the face. He punches Salem right off Emerald.
Look, it's fine. You know, like, she's a super powerful villain, whatever. He punches her, and because, like I said, they decided she doesn't functionally have feet now, she just has this big stretchy spade shape where her feet would be. And it looks funny as fuck. And just the fact that this dumbass is now punching this lady for his stupid ass character arc, and it's like, oh, and I'm like, God damn it, this goddamn fucking shit.
Hazel, like, you know, so he's turned. He pulls his vest off because now, you know, things have gotten serious.
Oh, yeah.
He does the dust thing, so he just, like, thumps a bunch of dust into his arm. And Salem says to him, "So you've decided against vengeance for your sister?"
After all this time.
Yeah. And Hazel says, "I'm doing what Gretchen would have done." Now let's stop. Let's stop and talk about Hazel. Let's talk about Hazel's arc.
Time stop.
Jin, get out here. We've got to stop and talk about Hazel's arc for a little bit.
The screeching sound effect, car screech.
Okay, so
I hate the show.
Hazel's turned. Hazel has chosen this moment to turn. This is another one of those, like, uniquely Ruby problems in which, like, you know this is wrong, but it takes a little while to try and unpick exactly how this is wrong. So I think the way to approach it is to think about what Hazel's motivations have been, right?
Okay.
All right.
I'm thinking.
The turning point that made Hazel change his mind was the assumption that Ozma was telling the truth about Salem just wanting to destroy the world. And that is the thing that has convinced him almost instantaneously to switch sides.
Sure.
Let's say his primary motivation was that he wanted to work with Salem to create a new world order where no one needed to die fighting Salem/Grimm.
Which is vengeance.
No, well, okay, so... Well, no, I feel like the vengeance thing is a separate thing. Because, like, so that's the whole thing. Is if the idea is that he just wants to make this new world order where no one has to fight, that makes him learning about the lie and turning on that makes sense. But how does any of his behavior up to this point make sense if that's the main thing he wanted to do? Like, I want to create a new world order where no one has to die fighting Salem, so I'm just going to kill so many fucking people.
Look,
for
if that
Salem.
was an idea that he had, fine. But like Salem tells us, the audience conveniently, he has now come to the culmination of his character arc where he was before motivated by vengeance, but now he no longer is motivated by vengeance.
Well, okay, so this is the other thing, right? If he was motivated by vengeance, how does him learning that Salem was a liar change that?
It fucking doesn't.
If all he wanted to do was kill Ozma and punish Ozma for what he did to Gretchen, so Salem's lying about the fate of the world. What the fuck does that have to do with him getting vengeance?
No, it doesn't matter that she lied about the fate of the world. It matters that it turns out he's a cool guy, you know? he was trying to get vengeance on him all these years, but it turns out Ozma a pretty cool guy. Salem, huge bitch, so, you know.
Because he told the truth about this one thing. He told the truth about this one thing, so, like, Everything he believed up to this point. Well, this is the other thing. Like, say like from what he's saying now is that he wants to honor his sister. Like his motivation is I want to honor my sister. I want to do what Gretchen would have done. Okay, so up to this point, you were beating the shit out of a child.
And also, like, during Volume 5, the whole thing was that he was just running around killing every hunter in Haven or whatever.
Yeah. Because that's what Gretchen would have wanted.
But yeah, now he's very concerned with what Gretchen would have wanted.
The idea that like, this is all about what Gretchen would have wanted. What the fuck does that have to do with learning that Salem is a liar and that maybe Ozma's cool? What the fuck? How are those two things connected? Why is it now he's super like into doing what Gretchen would have wanted as opposed to before? When I think we can safely assume, unless Gretchen was a lunatic as well, she didn't want him to just go around killing hunters and children.
Because it's a bad show.
Either the revelation he learned, turning him makes sense, but nothing else he's ever done does, or all of his prior motivations all make sense, and this revelation has fuck all to do with any of those. That's what I feel is the issue.
You know what I just realized? So he's come around to the ultimate goal of this show, which because they can't kill Salem, what all these characters really need to do is just to fucking put this woman in her place.
Yeah.
Just gotta put this fucking woman in her place. She doesn't understand. They need to keep telling her that she's the dumbest and then put her in place.
You know what else, though, Cube, is something I realized late, is that it's really cool how all of these really dumb side characters are the ones getting stuff done for the last 2 episodes. Just Whitley and Hazel high-fiving, making shit happen.
Oh yeah, because that's another thing. This is the first time any of the characters have actually met Salem in person besides Oscar. Like, some of them saw her when she was like on the spooky ghost phone, but otherwise this is their big first meeting with the big bad. But because obviously like we know both sets of characters very well by this point, she's just like, oh hey, some kids.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, it's the boss lady, the puncher.
Yeah.
And it's so nothing.
You are just a hunter meeting the biggest, most powerful, most evil person in the world
And she's like, get out of my house.
who is trying to destroy everything, and they're just kind of like, oh, it's you. Like,
I'm so glad Ruby is the main character. She's so important and central to all these events.
it's great because like it's this funny paradox where it's like she shouldn't be based on who she is as a character, but she is because she's the main character, but at the same time she's not because she doesn't do anything, so it kind of cancels itself out.
It's so stupid. Anyways, it's time to do a really shitty version of the very iconic shot from Thor Ragnarok, which offends the fuck out of me.
Yeah, I actually like, there were parts of this fight I kind of liked, like
So, some of the animation's aight.
yeah, so Hazel like shoves a bit of wind dust into the ground and it blasts him into the air, and they do one of those slow motion shots from Thor Ragnarok. He creates a big rock and slams Salem into the ground. And when he lands on top of Salem, there's a moment there where he just like punches her face, and like gore just goes flying in both directions as he punches her. And I was kind of like, oh, fuck, all right.
Yeah. And of course it's like purple goop, but yeah, it is like, whoa, that's a pretty strong punch.
Yeah, and sort of just like, wow, that's more than I was expecting them to do.
But just them doing that Thor shot, but it's like in Thor, you know, it's like this super bitchin', there's lightning everywhere, thunder is playing, and there's like all those zombies coming up at him. But here it's just like, here's a lady, and here's Hazel coming to punch her because he just had a really rushed weird character arc. And I'm just like, you're not allowed to copy this shot for this. It's not okay.
Anyway, so Salem's winning, obviously, while the other kids escape out the ramp. But Oscar's not leaving. Oscar says she's just going to keep chasing us. And I'm not sure what the idea is here, because we've had proven several times this episode, she doesn't die. So what are you off to do,
I
Oscar?
have a theory.
Yeah?
I have a theory, but I'll discuss that as we continue to talk about how the scene goes down.
So Hazel's strapped to the ground, or just lying on the ground.
She's hitting his head into the ground over and
that's
over,
right. Yeah,
which I think is fun. But his aura still hasn't broken, by the way.
No, he has a lot of aura, this man.
Unless it broke off screen.
It
It might have broken off screen.
could have. Oscar comes in with his staff, and he's like pointing it at her, and he does like a little magic-y thing, like you see the gears light up. And so Salem spots him, and she neumes at him, but Hazel grabs her from behind. So then arms come out and grab Hazel, but then Hazel reveals he has some fire dust in his mouth. So he bites it.
Crunch.
Now, this episode is called Witch, and so the culminating moment of this episode is when they burn the witch. They're burning Salem. The bad lady. She's being burnt at the stake. Burning the witch. Well done, guys.
I just, like, they know burning the witch has completely different connotations now. Like, it's a reference that people use specifically when you're doing, like, a bad thing.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, you're just like, burn the witch. But here they're like, it's cool, it's the best.
You might not know that, Cube, if you're a bit of a dead shit. And I think at this point, like I people will often say the writers are bad people and stuff. I don't think they're bad people. I just think they're pretty stupid. I think they're pretty stupid people.
Yeah.
And I feel like
Look,
this is the sort of thing you do when you're kind of stupid. You just you think something sounds cool and you are just not aware.
I don't want to call them stupid.
No, I feel like calling them stupid is fair at this point because they do stupid things. The writing is stupid.
Well, I would rather call them poo-poo boys.
You can say ignorant if you want. I think a lot of the writing is extremely ignorant in terms of the
That's fair.
references they make.
Especially after the Cinder shit.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes I'm like, maybe we're too mean to them, but it's like just the writing that they do.
Yeah. I look, this is the thing. You could possibly call the writing misogynistic. I don't think they're misogynists. I just think they're kind of stupid because they don't think about these things enough. They don't make connections. They're not seeing the patterns and how.
They're little a passive misogynists. I mean, the Tifa thing, let's not.
That's what I mean. It's like, it comes through. They're just not aware of what they're doing. Like, they're not aware of the little things they're putting together when they make these things.
Look, you just say that because you aren't a creator, and if you were a creator, you would know that it's impossible not to make the worst thing ever.
All the stuff that's in there is passive. It's all passive, but that doesn't mean it's not in there. It doesn't mean they're not putting this out in the world where they burn the witch. Anyway, Oscar does a magic.
So Hazel makes an orgy face that I assume means he's going to die or something, and I'm going to get some points on my death game, and I wish I put more than 5 points into him. Can I just double up the points that I had into Hazel and who else did I say give 5 points to? Vine? I don't want to waste my points on Oobleck.
It's your fault. It's your fault for not doing maths.
Oh no, what are you going to do, burn me?
But anyway, yeah, Oscar does a magic. Hazel is almost certainly dead, and that's the end of the episode.
So this is the thing. Hazel says do it, and Oscar does a big old green blast. And I think the reason he needed his cane is, do you know what they've said about what his cane does?
I can't remember.
It stores time.
So you think he's just freezing her for a while?
Yeah, that's my guess, is that he's going to be like time freezing her for a while. And then maybe even like she'll... That'd be really funny if he time freezes her and Hazel together, because then at some point, like they just come unstuck together and they're like, well, this is fucking awkward. But yeah, so that's my guess, because otherwise it's just like if he's just going to kill her again, well, we just saw her get up from being killed like 5 times.
That has to not be it. He had to have some kind of more permanent way of halting her for a bit, one assumes. I mean, like, maybe here's a plan. Here's a plan.
Okay.
Freeze her for a bit, and while she's frozen, get Fiona up here as soon as you can. Have Fiona put her in hammer space. Job done.
Just dusting my hands off. This makes me wonder if one of them has played. This is for anyone who happens to have played Dragon Dragoon. The final or the ending is the fucking D, or the boy with the time, because he has the curse of like stopping time, and then he uses it on the boss to stop a time. It makes me think of that. It might be a coincidence.
There's a couple more things I want to highlight about this episode. First of all, it really does seem like Hazel and Emerald and Oscar were going to just walk out the door because no alarms would have been triggered. Except for what? What initially happens to set off an alarm and make things worse and put Salem on alert?
The seer saw John and Ren and Yang.
Yeah, the 3 people who did absolutely nothing to help Oscar escape. So once again, the main characters are just continuing to make things worse.
You know what? That's funny, because I was thinking, oh, they were just completely useless in all of this. But you're right. They actually made it worse.
Yeah, they made it worse by being here. If they had not been here, maybe an alarm would have gone off when Neo took the lamp. It's very possible the other 3 might have just walked out the door and it would have been fine. Because, like, yeah, the other 3 do nothing to assist. They send off an alarm. Oscar's already out the door by the time they find him. And when they're fighting fucking Salem at the end, they don't help there either.
Jury is so fucking bad at this.
They are the worst team. Logging nothing but L's all day.
There's no reason for them to have been here.
Yeah, they didn't help. They didn't help at all. They made things worse. They actively made things worse.
I hate this. How do you not realize this? Like, because if they get out with Emerald and Oscar or whatever, they're going to be like, see, we did it. We did it because we didn't give up on our friends. Yeah. And we're just going to be like,
you actually made it worse.
Definitely what happens.
Had Hazel survived, he could have been a very useful character for them. Like, he would have known a lot of stuff. He presumably knows what her next plan is. I feel like the reason that Tyrion and Mercury left last episode was because this way it gets them out of the way.
That's what kills me about that scene, is it's so blatant that it's like, we just need to get rid of these characters. Bye.
Yeah.
That's...
Yeah. What a great show. Now, speaking of writers, as we said, we think they're a bit stupid.
Is it time to do little dunking?
So now we got a good look this episode at Dust, and in particular that Thor shot you were talking about. The thing that Hazel uses to leap off the ground is he gets a bit of wind dust and just slams it into the ground, and it makes a little tornado that pushes him up. Now, Cube, what was the color of that dust?
Well, first it's important to note that this episode was written by Eddie, our boy Eddie.
Yes.
Okay, and that dust, I'm looking at the dust, it's white.
So, a person on Twitter, apparently genuine fan of RWBY, has tweeted at Eddie and has said, look, hi Eddie, I'm sorry to bother you, but I'm at my wit's end. Wind dust has been switching between white and green in every appearance. I try to keep up with the lore, but I just don't know what to do. Could you help me, please? And they have provided a photo. So you can see an image of, so in that stupid lore compendium, you can see the wind dust is white. Mm-hmm. In one of the D&D character sheets, you can see the air dust is green. There's a bag of ruby dust crystals, which I think is a type of candy. Wind dust, it's green. You can see a bit of wind dust in someone's spear, it's green. You can see the wind dust on a tweet from somewhere, it's wind, but then you look in Weiss's weapon, and that maiden who got jobbed by Cinder's weapon, and the dust is white. So this is quite clear that they're correct. Wind dust has bounced back and forth between green and white and green and white.
Yeah, we have at least 2 official instances of it being white and 1, 2, 3, 4 official instances of it being green. And they also showed some images of the wind being white, but like you could brush that off. It's wind.
Yeah. So
Eddie says, it's more like a pale green, so I can see why this would be confusing.
There's something so nuts about. All right, I can understand why, as an employee of Rooster Teeth, you can't go on Twitter and say, yeah, Rooster Teeth are really bad at this, they fucked it up. Right?
It's not even like, if this was inconsistent, you could just admit it. It wouldn't be that big a deal, to be honest. Especially when you're using references from really early in the show. It's like, we've had a lot of different people on the show. Sometimes things end up a little inconsistent, but, our idea is that now it's, well, I would say green, but then they made it white this episode.
Yeah, sure. I can understand at least if there was a strict corporate policy to not make RT look stupid, or like that people would be upset if like other people who work there would be upset if he sort of blamed that on some other part of the company.
Yeah, admitted it's inconsistent.
Yeah. So in that case, surely the correct response to this fan is just to not say anything. Surely the correct response is not to tell the person that they can't see what they can see with their own eyes.
Look, it's just pale green. I can see why you're confused, why it's confusing to you. And then it's not even that you aren't supposed to think about the image the other person posted. I need you to immediately forget what he just said here. So because say that how does the person respond?
So the person responds, so it's neither white or green shown in the series, but a pale green, kind of like this. And they've given an example of like a mint green. Should I just stop being so obsessed over this tiny detail? I love the lore and world building, but this keeps irking me. Should I just say it doesn't matter and move on?
It's more that the dust itself is a pale green, but the effect it produces is wind, which is white.
Eddie.
Had he not seen... This is how long... Oh, I didn't even notice this was in August 2020.
Mm.
I thought that this was recent, but this is old school. How did this just come up before the episode where they happened to? Did the people know?
I don't know. I can't remember where this popped up. This popped up somewhere. But what's great is that, like I said, this is an Eddie written episode, and the internet has white dust. Now, to be fair, I don't know if in the script, like, he actually specified that the dust had to be white. But the point is, it's obvious to anyone looking at it that the Ruby law here is just inconsistent. There's just been a mistake made.
Yeah, and obviously, like, I'm not even saying that this is his fault, but just the surrealness, like, after all of our other awesome Eddie bits, of him looking at this image and saying, no,
No,
I can see this. I can see why this is all very confusing for you, because you're seeing the white, you're seeing the green, but what you're actually seeing is a single consistent pale green.
yeah, like this is the thing he's done before, which is insist that it all makes sense, even when it so obviously doesn't. And this is the most obvious time we've ever seen that. It is right there in front of your face, and he's still going to say, no, it's pale green.
I'm a little disappointed that this isn't recent, but that's wild then, because then this in this episode is white again.
Now, Eddie recently had another long thread. I won't read any of it out really because it's quite long. But someone had added him with a thread that was critical of some Ruby writing, saying, hey, you said read this, which is a rude thing to do. And he was like, I'd really rather you don't do this. And it sparked off this longish thread where he was complaining about the amount of bullshit that gets sent to him and other writers who work on the show. Like, people just sort of abusing them, being critical to the point of, and also abusing them, like, I mean, and look, here's the thing. I don't doubt that the position he is in is tough. The position of being a writer on a large show that has a large audience, which does mean that you tend to cop unfair criticism from all sorts of internet randos. It'll pop up everywhere. It's on your Twitter, it's on your Reddit, you get it in emails.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it's super frustrating.
Yeah. That is a thing that very few people can relate to. It's a thing that very few people ever experience, to be the target for thousands of messages, like, of just people just shitting all over your work, right? I mean,
Right.
It's funny of us to be saying this, but I have sympathy for that. And it's perfectly valid for him to complain about having to put up with that. Because, yeah, that does suck. And he also says that, I don't respond to the vast majority of things that get sent to me that are shitty. And I can also kind of believe that, because, like, although we do see him respond a lot, he's probably right in that he isn't responding to every single thing that comes his way.
Oh sure.
But the trouble is, like, the way Eddie sort of runs into an issue, I think, is the fact that, first of all, he's never able to admit specific mistake. He will occasionally say, like, things like, oh, we don't always get it right. But he's never able to sort of, like, sit down and say this, okay, so we fucked this up in this way. Like, you go back to the Barry and Clover from last season. In that instance, when he was defending himself, at no point did he say this was the writer's fault, we messed up some of the writing and the way this was interpreted. He put it all down to the director.
Oh, hold up.
He put...
Oh, you said burying Clover. I thought you said Barry and Clover, and I was like, who's Barry?
Crow Barry Braunen. That's his middle name.
Sorry, continue.
Yeah, so like when we go back to the Barry and Clover thing. When he was defending himself on that point, he put it all down to the marketing, animation, directors, anyone but the writers. And that's generally been his pattern whenever he gets online to defend himself, is that he's very bad at taking any sort of, like, blame onto himself. If he does talk about whose fault it is, it's someone else's. And that's the second part. He has a bad habit of throwing people under the bus. And as part of this thread where he was complaining about the abuse they get, he was talking about the way that people have complained about things like fight sequences and blamed that on the writers. And he's like, well, that's unfair, because, like, we're not even the ones who manage the fight scenes. To sidebar for a second, I feel like, okay, the actual animation, that's not your fault. I feel like the beats of a scene, that should be down to the writers. Like say from the last episode, Ruby getting KO'd twice very quickly by 2 hits.
Yeah.
That feels to me like that's a writer's problem.
Or the whole Marrow Stay thing that we made a whole podcast on. That's a writing decision, ultimately.
Those were writing decisions. When it came to that, when he goes, if there were fuck-ups there, they weren't our fault. Once again, throwing someone else under the bus. Someone replied to that saying, yeah, well, like when everyone was complaining about the way the army was laid out at the start of the season. Like, I'm sure you guys didn't note down how the army should look. And he was like, oh, no, it's totally like a drop-down in Final Draft. And it's like, I understand, like I said, you're in a unique position, and this is a really shitty situation to be in, to be abused by randos like this. But if you can't take on any responsibility for mistakes that have been made, and you also can't help yourself from throwing other people under the bus, just don't post. Just log off. Log off, for fuck's sake. Just fucking log off.
it's also like, how has he never heard of the concept of, like the more that you constantly call out and respond to only the rudest people and make everything about always the rudest people, then that's going to encourage those people to keep coming at you because you keep fighting them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he's like, why haven't they stopped coming at me? I keep telling them they're wrong.
Yeah.
Why isn't this effective? It's just like, and I'm always being like, he constantly is like, oh, well, you don't know what my job is like. You don't understand my job. That's why I'll keep making bad criticism, is because I am a creator and you don't know what it's like, and blah, 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 blah. And if you're convinced like, oh, everyone's just wrong because they can't possibly know what it's like, then go fucking talk to Miles and Carrie about how all the stupid kids are wrong about your awesome work. Don't come and yell at the kids about how they don't know and they're too stupid to know.
Yeah. This is not appropriate for a public forum. This is the thing you go and bitch to your friends about privately.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, this is just...
And that'd be relatable. And then like if he's like, oh yeah, I complain to my friends all the time about some of the things that piss me off, but I try not to make a big deal about it, then we could high five. Be like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
But because instead he's just constantly saying that all criticism is bad and you don't see the thing you see, and actually what happened was not what you saw happen, and he could only do the crowd because they don't have aura. Oops, they did, but shut up. No, they didn't. Shut up. You don't understand what I've been through. It's very silly. It's so freaking weird.
Yeah, it's just very silly behavior
And just
from an adult. Just log off. Log off, man.
Obviously he gonna do him, but it's like, if he really wanted to deal with less of this shit, there are ways that could happen.
Yeah.
And one of them would be to stop just fucking bullshitting people and wading in every time that you do a bad thing and you need to tell everyone that you didn't.
Yeah, he didn't, and it's not his fault. Yeah.
Anyways, what's really good is Burn the Witch.
Burn the Witch.
So
Yeah. They burnt it.
got her.
Got her.
You burnt.
Yeah. Oh, what an episode.
But at least Neo got the lamp, and it's her lamp now. And there's a few things that could go down here because there's no one that she should be giving it to.
No.
So my hope is that she's able to ask a question, maybe like, is Roman really dead, or where is he, or that kind of thing. If I would be really pissed if she's unable to ask Jin a question.
Yeah, that would be. I hope we don't see her till the end of the season and she asks the lamp, how can I kill Ruby? And Jin just says, you can't.
Or Jin just says, I mean, there's so many ways. How do I even start? I mean, there's...
And that helps Neo get it all out of her system because she just watches all these different ways you could kill Ruby.
Yeah. I guess she could ask who killed Roman, but it's like, would Jim just be like, oh, just a Grim. Is this bird boy? And she'd be like, oh, okay, well, my mistake then. See you guys later.
This is one of those things where if Ruby was a more complicated show, there could be like, multiple parties, multiple villains who might want to do different things as opposed to just one set of good guys and one set of bad guys. If Neo had someone else she could take the lamp to who would be interested in stuff, that could be interesting. But like, who the fuck?
Little Miss. What if they cut to her delivering it to Little Miss?
No. She's going to deliver it to Adam because he's alive.
Oh, we were talking about this with last episode, and I know we're going long, but
Yeah.
I mean, fucking, you know us. But fucking the fact that like everybody in the fandom was guessing about who the Grim was, if the Grim was a person, and so the fact that the reveal is it's just a guy. It's just some guy we don't know. And like, it's supposed to be like, oh, fuck, it's a person. But as soon as he spoke, everybody was guessing maybe it was a person. And they thought maybe it'd be a character, but it wasn't.
Yeah, it's like half the fandom was talking about who specifically it was going to be. And the other half of the fandom was saying, guys, I think it's just a Grim. So having the reveal be just a guy was a great way to disappoint both sides.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Good stuff.
And the fact that he looked too much like Adam, so a lot of people had that moment of, oh, fuck, Adam. Wait, no, never mind. It's just a guy.
Yeah, just a guy.
My mistake, it's just a guy. I love this show.
Yeah, it's amazing. I will say the dialogue was better. As is traditional for an Eddie episode, the dialogue is slightly better than like Miles' dialogue, like in the last one.
Except for the moving forward. And,
Oh, yeah, fuck
and
that, but, like-
and what Yang said, and what Salem
Oh,
said.
yeah, no.
So like,
Okay, I'm not saying the content is
and
good.
what Marrow said.
I'm not saying
and what Winter said.
I'm not saying the content is good. I'm saying the construction was better. Better put together lines saying really stupid shit. There is a slight but subtle difference.
That's true. For the majority of the episode, people responded to things that were said to them directly.
Yeah, and spoke kind of like humans when they weren't like quoting a dead guy.
Oh my god. Never change, Ruby. I love you. I'm just constantly in amazement that this show is the way it is. I know I've said it before, but I can't ever get over the fact that like every episode has this much to talk about. And we don't go like desperately searching for something to nitpick. It immediately comes to mind as you're watching it because you're like, what? Wait, what? Was it what? And this, oh my god. And it's amazing.
Yeah. All right. I guess we'll see you guys later.
We'll see you next time.
So after this episode, the next thing is coming out after this episode is when I watched Jupiter Ascending and told Q about it.
Oh,
That's coming out right
shit.
after this.
Yeah, that's almost done being edited, right?
Yeah.
And I've started editing review. We're working on it. So those are in the can.
They're in the can. We've got lots of episodes in the can. There's more Ruby coming. So yeah.
Hell yeah. I'm hype. All right.
right.
Talk to you
See
later,
you guys.
everybody. Also, we were right about Wonder Egg priority. Ha 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 ha.